is March 6, 2018. I'm John Manzella, and this is the Manzella Report. Last week, President Trump announced that he'll impose tariffs on imported steel and aluminum of 25% and 10% respectively. And since the U.S. steel industry has suffered over the last few decades, this action might seem like a good idea. But is it? Well, here's the reality. This action will punish American workers, invite retaliation, most likely against agricultural products from our Midwest, and harm U.S. exports. These tariffs will benefit a few American firms, like steel-producing firms, which employ about 140,000 workers, but they'll hurt steel-using industries, like aircraft, autos, and construction, which employ between 5.5 and 6.5 million workers. And here's why. The tariffs will add costs and boost prices, and when prices rise, companies and consumers buy fewer, often resulting in layoffs. President Trump cited national security as the reason for the tariffs, but China and Russia, not our closest allies these days, supply only 2.2 and 8.7% of U.S. imports. Our closest allies, like Canada, supply 16%. South Korea and Mexico supply 9 to 10%, and they will really feel the pain. And by the way, Canada imports about 50% of U.S. exports of steel. Now, the defense industry only uses about 3% of manufactured domestic steel. And since U.S. steel mills operate below capacity, we have the means to gear up should that be necessary during a crisis. And should these tariffs be implemented, which, by the way, Americans pay for, Barclays estimates that U.S. inflation will rise and economic growth will decrease. And this means higher costs for President Trump's infrastructure plans. Now, Buy American provisions sound good, but in reality, the story is much different. History tells us that when implemented, many of these policies do more harm than good. Now, let me be clear. Buying American products is a very good thing. But buying American products where we don't have a competitive advantage is not. That's why we trade. In areas where we don't have an advantage, we're better off importing. The bottom line is this. Imports and exports are extremely beneficial to the American economy and American workers and American communities. In fact, trade now supports 1 in 5 American jobs and offers many more benefits, many more than disadvantages. Unfortunately, misinformation about trade dominates the news and has led to a great deal of confusion in Washington, D.C. I'm John Manzella.